Welcome to the IESF World Esports Championship 2024. We're back with the Europe qualifier. We see the Asia qualifier, the Asia and Oceania qualifier just a couple of weeks ago. And this time around, we're diving into a completely different region. It's going to be Europe. It is going to be one of the most stacked regions, one of the most up-and-coming regions as well, I want to say, in the PUBG mobile space. We have amazing nations that are going to fight it out today, 21 of them, actually. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go through this alone, actually. There's Kovo on my side. Welcome, Kovo.
Nice to be here. Like we said, right? We have Asia in the bag. We have 5 of our teams locked in for the World Esports Championship. And today we're sending 5 more. And we've both had a look at the lobby. We've had a look at the teams.
Yeah.
It's going to be spicy. It's going to be close. There's 5 slots. It's a little bit more than we had last time. But, oh my. This is not going to be an easy time for either of our teams. And it should be a crazy time for us to watch. Because those maps, those lobbies, they're going to be stacked to the brim with players.
I just want to see SANHOK. I think we started off with SANHOK as well. Once again, 21 teams. 21 teams. We haven't really seen that in many tournaments. If we think way back to the beginning of the PUBG Mobile space, yes, there's been a couple of tournaments that have this amount of players. And I think, especially in the Asia region, even during some of the years 2021, I believe it was, we had some tournaments going on with amount of team like this, but nothing really on the big scenes. And this time around, it's going to be different. So I'm excited to see it happening. And also, I don't think we've told you guys, 5 spots only. So out of these 21 teams, 16 will go out relatively empty-handed. There's going to be experience, obviously, that will be gained, but in terms of an actual prize, they will be going home empty-handed.
It's going to be a tough day. We're going to take you through it. We're going to have a look at the schedule now to prepare you to what's up and coming, but I don't think anyone can prepare the players for what we're starting off with. We just said it, right? SANHOK with 21 teams. The reason we're playing 21 teams is there's a lot of nations that wanted to have a shot at this, and we've really tried to make that happen for all of them. Well, at least now they have a shot at it. It's going to be hard, but it is possible. SANHOK, Erangel, and then we close it out on 2 Miramars, Felix.
Yeah. Once again, I think it's going to be absolute madness today. 21 teams in a lobby like this, 21 really experienced teams as well. Sure, there are some underdogs. There's some big underdogs, actually, I want to say, as we run over to the point structure. But we also have really experienced teams once again. We have a couple of players, actually, that do play at the EWC as well. So these guys, once again, play at the very highest level of the PUBG mobile esports scene. And they've actually been quite successful there as well. I'm talking about some of the players from Serbia. But we're going to get to that in a minute. Point structure is going to be, as usual, 10 points for the chicken dinner. You get an elimination each. And this round, it's not 9 to 16. It is 9 to 21 that goes out empty-handed in terms of placement points.
That's the only real difference here than what you're used to, is there's a few more teams without placement points. And that does change things up a bit. But the only real change, I think, is going to be, it's mainly going to be the early game. Because that's where you have so many people alive. And then once you're down to your normal amount of teams, the game becomes a little bit more normal, more what you're used to. But the early game should be quite hectic. As we're about to talk to you about the rosters a little bit, because like we said, we have 21 different rosters coming in today. And I think there is a massive range here, Felix, in terms of experience, international experience as well. But you never know when you're coming into these lobbies. It's always very hard to say who the real favorites are, isn't it?
Yeah, just to give you guys an idea on how these rosters are picked. So IESF is in contact with over 130 esports federations around the world. I think it might even have crossed the 140 point mark by this time, which is almost every country at this point, at this point. I mean, we've had the smallest nations you could ever think of just last year at the IESF World Esports Championship in Yash. But this time around, it's once again, it's going to be even more stacked. So yeah, coming back to the point, all these international esports federations are able to pick their own team, and they have qualification processes or just, straight up picks based on, obviously the scene itself. So that's how all these teams go into the running, and these federations, once again, pick the players, and that's how they got to this point. And really interesting. Armenia is the next one up. First team that might go into this one as a little bit of an underdog, but has a couple of experienced players as well.
Yeah, we have Pusher on the roster there, like you said, right? Just very recently performed in some of the top events, and that's something you can say about some of these teams. It's not something you can say about every single one of these teams. So he's playing for De Muerte, a team that you might have heard of if you've been around the region, if you've been around the area. But we have plenty of teams here that have big names on them, but we also have a few teams where you don't really know much about them and you're not really 100% sure who you're coming up against. This is Azerbaijan, a team, once again, you've heard of some of the players, but compared to some of the big dogs we'll see in just a bit here, you're not looking at them as favorites. That doesn't mean that they don't stand a chance, though.
No, same goes for Belarus, obviously. These guys, yes, they've played in a couple of tournaments, but I wouldn't say they're the favorites to take home a spot in this one. Potentially, obviously, Yasha Striker is actually the sixth man, because you haven't heard about him. He's a pretty experienced player as well. As we go over to Belgium, same goes for them, I'd say. Maybe Tree has been heard of. I think he's been at 3D Max for a brief period of time. If he still is, I'm not too sure about that. But apart from that, also one of the lesser experienced rosters.
Yeah, and we'll go through this quite a bit. I mean, we have Bulgaria, for example, and that's where we meet the first player. He's not on this lineup. I've seen him on the Liquipedia signing, but Icy, not actually. Oh yeah, there
he is.
Yeah, just Icy boss. All right, there we are.
He's the boss.
First player from the moneymakers that we're going to see in one of these rosters, and there's going to be quite a lot of them sprinkled across multiple teams. I think essentially their full lineup is here, playing for different countries because they are a bit of a mix. But we'll continue to see more of that lineup, and that's one of the teams that you're really looking for, right?
Yeah, definitely. Once again, there's a couple of teams, we'll go over them afterwards, that we're really looking forward to this round. Croatia, first of all, it's Strank, Mel, T77, and Sikio, in case you haven't heard of these guys. Also, I want to say one of the less experienced rosters, Croatia in general, a rather small, probably mobile esports scene, but you know, it's up and coming, about to change. And I want to say the same thing goes for Czech Republic. Good names, though. I like it. Sans, Nato, Lavik, and Wolf, we sent into the running for the Czech Republic.
Yeah, clean and short. Not everybody can say that about themselves. And then we have the French lineup with quite a few players that you've seen on international stages, that we've seen around in the European scene. Sometimes popping off. I think we've seen them under 3D Max. We've seen them under, I think, Game Lord in the past. So there is some players there that you've definitely seen. But once again, we talk about this so much, right? This is the only segment of the broadcast, really, where we talk about these teams, and we have to try and evaluate who's going to be a favorite and who isn't. As soon as we head into that SANHOK, everything is just thrown up in the air, and we'll actually see for ourselves, because this is not a normal tournament. Tons of mixed teams from different rosters mixed together, and then also 21 teams in the lobby, huge skill gaps between some of these teams. It's going to go crazy, and it's a whole different skill set to perform here.
It really is a whole different skill set. Head on over to Germany. Look, I'm excited about these guys because obviously that's our region. I've talked to these players. His Gnoshi / Zero and Ghosty coming in for this lineup. I'm expecting to see potentially even a lineup change in the second day, but yeah, going over to Gia and Sang as well, the 6th spot and the coaching role. Once again, these guys are rather experienced as well. They haven't been performing at the top of the European scene for quite some time, especially I think his last appearance in any of the pro leagues has been 2021, 2022. When I say Nashi's probably the one player that stands out the most. He's been performing in PMSL.
Yeah, I think he's the one with the most experience on that roster. As we head through a few more of these, we've got Hungary. We're going to go over to Luxembourg in a second here with one of the players actually being called unknown. It's not what I want to say. It's just less high profile, right? Lower profile players in some of these rosters. You might know them. You have seen them every now and then, but not the crazy favorites. And here's a team that to me are crazy favorites, because not only are they coming with a full lineup, they are also a full lineup that has performed and has made it to world tournaments consistently. That's the Codex guys. That's Folly, Marlow, Get Wrecked, and Watch Me. We've seen these guys play at the last IESF as well.
Yes, and we've met them.
And we've met them even before that, right? In Istanbul, a year before that. So these guys have been around for a while, and they know exactly what they're doing. Yeah,
Folly especially. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to qualify for Yash, but he's back in the running for this one. So going to be hyped to see Moldova pick it up. And as we said, representing Codex there as well. Poland, going on to Poland. Also one of the smaller regions, I'd say, but that's the beauty of this tournament. Coming into this tournament with Ked, obviously, I want to say he's the most experienced player in that lineup. Also Neymar. So these two guys have been playing at least, at the very least, in 2021, 2022 at the very top of the European scene. But after that, it's kind of fallen off as well.
And then we have Romania, which is another one of the ones where you're looking at it and you're saying, not only are these guys a full roster, these guys are a full roster that's been performing for a while. Tons of experience there. Now, I don't see Kapahala here. I've seen him on the Liquipedia signing, so that was one of the names as well that you've known and seen for a while. We'll have to wait and see what they pull off today. But Doran, EXO, these guys, they've been around. They're not messing around. And there's Serbia. Ooh. And there's more money makers on this roster. Koa and Bishkek. I remember them vividly. Koa was pulling off some mad clutches in the last World Esports Championship, or at least getting close to it every now and then. So big roster here. Melash as well plays for NRG at the moment. These are big names. These are by no means unknown players.
Also judging by the scrims we've seen, I've watched the scrims yesterday, for example, as we headed over to Spain, a rather unexperienced lineup as well. Got to Crazy Vasquez, Memphis being sent into the running by the Spanish Esports Federation. Good to have you guys here. And once again, yeah, the Serbian guys, as well as the Romanian guys who've touched about this, as well as the Moldovan guys as well. These guys have been performing in scrims really, really well. I've watched it just yesterday, was the last scrim day actually. And yes, sure, I mean, we had a couple of phases where just around phase 2, all these teams have essentially been eliminated. It was quite chaotic, so not really too easy to judge these performances, but they have been amazing. And I don't want to skip on this. Don't skip on this yet, because Turkey is a region that I think when we're talking about favorites cannot be missed whatsoever. We have some world champions in this team. Silas, Loxy, Wild, and Kiss going into the running for Turkey.
Yes, playing for Regnum Karia, Bra Esports, another full roster. Like you said, world champions on that roster, some of the favorites, but we've also talked about them being favorites before, and it hasn't really come to materialize in the last one. So we'll see what they do today. They've picked up Apocalypse as well, a man who's been coaching on the PUBG PC scene very successfully. Well, right? Yeah, absolutely. And he switched over there to coach the PUBG mobile team, so we'll see what he's able to do for that squad. But yeah, like I said, high-profile team, a lot of success in their past.
Yeah, good stuff coming out from Turkey. And we're heading over to the last team, actually. Ukraine is going to be the last team. Tolika, Luminatrix, Old Boy, and Foopsman will be the roster. Old Boy and actually Havlik as the 5th man. I'm expecting to see him play. I'm not sure why he's not in the roster. I'd be surprised if that was an active decision, because Havlik is the 5th player that is going into the roster of Moneymakers. And we've seen all the players from Moneymakers now. They're also playing EWC in this tournament. Yeah. So I'd be surprised if that was an active decision. Maybe it just hasn't worked out with scheduling. He's actually just had his birthday in the recent couple of days. So once again, I'm expecting to see him play maybe tomorrow. Either way, strong lineup. Old Boy, obviously, the big name in that roster, I'd say. Yeah. But the rest of the guys are not to be underestimated as well. They've dominated the PUBG esports scene in Europe for quite some time. And yeah, well, what else to say? Definitely a contender as well. I want to put them into the big 5 too.
100%, and I mean, Old Boy, he's just such a staple name at this point, right? He's been around. Yeah. He's had his successes. We've seen him at the last World Esports Championship as well. The man is an absolute professional as well. He's not one of those guys that gets excited when they get to LAN. He's just like, yeah, I know what to do here. I've done this countless times. I'm ready for whatever they throw my way. But we're still looking at 21 teams. We're looking at 5 spots, and we've seen a lot of teams now that have rosters that look like they should make that top 5. But there's a lot that can happen. We have 6 games today, 6 games tomorrow as well. So don't be confused. This is not a best of 6. This is 12 games. You can miss out on a few of those, but you really don't. You can't throw away a day. If you want to get a top 2, you have to be decent today at least. And if you're only decent today, you'll have to be great tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, especially going into this with the thought of 21 teams, essentially 20 teams go against you in a single round. That means if you go out early, I want to say 3 out of the 6 rounds that we play today, that essentially means going out early is anything other than a top 8, and that's honestly that's a tough feat to accomplish in and of yourself. So the strategy shifts, right? Kill points are going to be way more important, but also placement points play just as big of a role, because if you do have that one big round, maybe one big round, just because of how inconsistent some of these teams will play, might even catapult you into a qualifying spot. So I think that's what some of these teams are going to be hoping for, making use of that opportunity that you will get. And because in one of these 6 rounds is eventually you'll get an opportunity. If you don't make use of it, I think that's where the real problem starts.
I think so too, and I think there's going to be a big discrepancy between teams that are consistently putting points on the board and teams that just don't get that going, because like we said, it's going to be a tough lobby. There's less space, there's more teams trying to third party you, there's less rotation routes open, there's less loot spots open for you. It's not going to be easy to be consistent, but if you manage to at least get yourself your 5-6 points every single game, you're going to be cruising through this, because at some point you're going to get the opportunity to play a big game, like you said. It's a tough feat, but I see some rosters here that I think should be able to do that. The question is how many of them will succeed, how many of them will be able to pull that off, because spots are limited. But yeah, maybe we have some big surprises here. Like we talked about some of the younger players, right? Germany is super young roster. There's potential there.
Yeah.
You never know if it's going to materialize. You never know if this is their tournament. There's a good chance somebody of the names that we haven't really talked about at all is just going to have a banger day one, and then suddenly they're in contention. Suddenly they're maybe even locked in for top 5.
Yeah, I wholeheartely agree. I like your punt. I see some names. Yeah, might be a little bit of a hint towards Bulgaria having good chances as well. But yeah, Bulgaria I think is going into my top teams as well. But yeah, as you said, also we've seen how these lobbies usually play out, right? With I want to say half of the lobby being rather inexperienced and not having performed against some of these household names, like some of these players from money makers now, or even France. France definitely not to be underestimated as well. Also, we're talking about scrims. These guys have performed in scrims, right? So if you have half of the lobby that's rather inexperienced and half the lobby that it really is experienced, sometimes it really comes down to, as we said, strategy, right? How early do you really want to pick up these points? How early do you have that really first mistake? Because if it happens in your very first fight, you go into the running as a 3-man. Maybe you go against another really experienced teams, and from that point onwards, it just all falls apart. So yeah, I think really trying to focus on your first couple of phases will be massively important for all these teams, because we also said with 21 teams, problems is you might not find a loot spot, especially not in SANHOK. We're going to start moving off of this. I don't even think there's 21 loot spots in SANHOK. Is there? I'm not so sure. Yes, maybe a couple of houses, but there's definitely not 21 cities. That's for sure. So even finding a loot spot, getting into phase 2, phase 3 as a 4-man is going to be a huge accomplishment. If you can do that, I think consistently, you'll have a massive massive chance of picking up good points in the long run.
Like we said, right? Consistency is going to be king, and it's going to be so hard. I had a big thought about this. I was like, well, how do you manage to just get through these lobbies where you don't have space at all? And it's like, do you take fights early? Do you try and to at least secure 3 to 4 points every game? But then 21 teams on SANHOK, there's going to be 3 to 4 teams around you at all times that are going to try and third party you if they see a weakness, if they see a knock, if they realize you're fighting. It's going to be tough. It's going to be crazy. I think we're going to see hot drops 100% on SANHOK. It's going to be a little more civilized on the other maps because there's a little bit more space. But SANHOK, there's no chance. I wouldn't be surprised to see multiple teams in boot camp. I wouldn't be surprised to see other hot drops come into play as well, depending on where these teams like to land. But I think there's almost no chance that we're not seeing fights in the first circle on SANHOK.
I quickly want to touch on, before we get into the first game, it's just a couple of more minutes, stay tuned. I quickly want to touch on the topic of what everyone is fighting for. So what everyone is trying to accomplish is be top 5 at the end of tomorrow. So we have 6 games today. We have 6 games tomorrow. That means it's a best of 12. And after all these games have been played out, the top 5 qualifies to Riyadh, the Esports IESF official World Esports Championship. Once again, that is being held in Riyadh later this year. So that's what all these teams are trying to qualify for. And that's essentially what everyone today is going to be aiming for. Yes, once again, it's not going to be concluded after today one, but I think we'll have a pretty good idea. Just judging by the rest of the qualifiers we've seen, we will have a pretty good idea on who really has a shot of making it to Riyadh. I think after day 1 already, because once again, especially with 21 teams, it's going to be hard to come back.
It's going to be hard to come back. I think we're going to have a few teams that might be out of the running after today. Most of the teams are going to have a chance. Most of the teams in the best of 12 will have a chance, but we are not yapping any longer. We're going into game. The first plane is in the air, and Felix, this is not even a nice plane. This is not even a fair plane. 21 teams in the north half of SANHOK.
That is, I mean, what? Wow, I don't even know what to say about this. That is horrendous. I think that is horrendous for all these teams. It's going to be a big problem getting to your desired loot spot. I think also this means usually, right, if you take a look at all the teams around you jumping out, you'll have a pretty good idea on who's jumping where. This time around, it's just going to be everyone running towards the southern side, right? You will not have an idea on who's really aiming for what spot. So I think deciding spontaneously what kind of loot spot you go to, depending on who's flying with you, is going to be really troublesome on this one. I do see one team that's made it happen. It is Romania. I think one of the only teams that really went towards the northern side. No one else really gambled on it, and Romania is going to be rewarded for it.
Absolutely, and I think we saw Moldavia on the other side of that as well, just instantly jumping out, no hesitation, and taking an edge of the map for themselves. That's going to be nice for them. That's going to be a good chill start, as we see them looting up towards both these northern sides, towards the lumber camp. Spain, on the other hand, they've gone a slight bit more central, and I see Montenegro, and I see a parachute on the minimap. Oy, oy, oy. Just getting a little close for comfort, but the ranged weapons are not there just yet.
Yeah, a couple of shots being put out. Oh, it's a good connect, actually. But nothing more than that. Random is going to have to continue looting. And this is the type of skirmish that we expected in the early stage. But it hasn't come through as much as I thought, at least. I mean, everyone seems to have landed quite safely at the very least. I'm sure there's a couple of shots being traded back and forth, but no one seems to be fighting right away. I don't think there's been a casualty yet, even. That is quite massive for all these teams, because, once again, getting to ground safely, I think especially in SANHOK, is going to be absolutely key.
As the first few shots coming out, the UMP rings out, knock and flush instantly. Gunpain picks up the first for Belarus. He's got a lot more to deal with, but I feel like he's had players in the distance that are helping him out, putting a bit of damage down range. You could see that the push is not coming out. There's Melvin on the other side. He's supporting. They know as well, Azerbaijan, they know they can't really just converge on this freely. They tried to, and they instantly got put down.
Yeah, Azerbaijan, unfortunately, losing a player very early on. And we saw the map there for a second. Really interesting. Ukraine having lots of space. I mean, they've got ruins and all the compounds on the western side. So massive split for them. I think got the zone as well. So Ukraine in the best spot, I'd say. And all these teams in phase one. There's another frag coming on through. As Belarus picking up the second one. And we talked about Striker and his team. Also being one of the teams that's kind of in the middle in terms of experience. Not the least experienced teams, but also not necessarily the most experienced teams. So them having a good start is going to give them lots of confidence.
Always good to see that kicking off. Momentum is absolutely massive in this. We've seen that before. And we've seen teams able to carry that throughout a whole day. And we've seen plenty of teams not able to pull it back on the second day in the Asia qualifier. This is going to be an interesting, similar story, because we have even more teams competing for the top slots. Ukraine as well. Looks like they are chilling. They're looting around the ruins area, and they're looting very, very close to where they want to be in the circle, I think. So short rotation route for them. They might set up where they are. They might go across the river, but some of these teams, they've gotten off to a pretty good start here, Felix. And honestly, we are both surprised at this, no? There's almost no fighting going on.
As that eastern rotation comes through, the western ones, look, I'm trying to judge these rotations, but honestly, I don't even think there's a way to do so. I think wherever you rotate, I'm even surprised that Moldova can rotate across that coastline so freely. I think wherever you rotate, you are kind of bound to run into players, and that's the first player that has now found an angle on Folly. He's just thrown right in the middle of everyone. Seems to stay alive for the time being. Folly is trying to find a rock to be safe from, but he's just not going to find one. Unfortunately, his teammate's too far in the distance. And the Czech Republic is going to pick up the first.
Oh, this is a messy one, though. Both of these hills in play. You can see Romania pulling up on the other side. Czech Republic trying to consolidate. And they will have to try and group up, use their power numbers. They now have the advantage on this. They don't have to confirm just yet, but they've gotten the entry knock. They're getting a second one. And just like that, one of our favorites, Moldova, not looking super hot right now.
No. Fortunately not. One of the teams that we said was going to be favored. Also take one of the qualification spot, but they are striking back. Marlow with a good pickup. UMP in hand, close distance. They haven't looted too much either. There's still 2 minutes until the very first zone closes, so they were quite fast in the rotate. But that trade, I'm not sure if it's going to matter too much. Because that zone towards the eastern side are still stacked with players all around. And you can see they're still trying to cover each other. The Czech Republic still 3-man strong, and they have control of the bridge.
It's a dodgy fight. It's a messy fight. At least they found one back. A little bit of a consolidation, but should probably try and get away from this regroup. And the thing I love to see when these kind of fights happen is get yourself to a spot where not everybody around you knows you're a two-man, right? Because Czech Republic now knows, okay, these guys are two. If they continue playing the compound next to us, we can maybe punish them later. We can pretty much predict what's going to happen on their side. So they have a whole lot of information they can use later. Keep that thought, though. There's a big pull-up. I already see 2 DBSs and a UMP, but they're going into the middle of the compound, all of the angles at one time. Oh, but at least they run over one. At least they stay 2 alive for now, but they're going to lose at least 2 players here, I feel like.
Yeah, at least 2 players. It's probably a good estimate. There's a nade coming in, and the first player, I think, has just now been flashed. It's a horrendous trade, I think, for both of these teams. No one's really going to be fine with this one. And it does hinder the winning chances for Belgium, as well as Georgia, to be honest. Or as nades are raining in now. Ripper somehow stays alive in the middle of it. And yeah, from this point onwards, I think it's just going to be nades being traded back and forth. But there has been a cheeky angle that's been picked up towards the Cestan side. Yeah. I think he should have an angle now on Shelby. Somehow he misses him, and Sky is going to be left wondering if he maybe should have taken that shot a little bit earlier.
I think the timing just worked out really well for him there. The smoke as well keeps Shelby safe, but that's a pull-up you hate to see. Right into the middle of the compound, right into all of the sidelines. It's not something you're just going to be super happy about if you're Belgium. Now, 2 for 2. Not a trade that either of these teams are happy to take. Not a trade that benefits either of them, as we've seen the zone slowly closing on in. 10 seconds for the pop, and you can see everybody else is just waiting for it as well.
Yeah. Kind of, thing is, I'm not so sure if survivability is the thing you want to go for, but then again, they're on deep center. So I guess to some degree it makes sense. Maybe wait for another third party to come in. You still have 19 other teams, so the potential someone else is going to go for these Western positions, I want to say it's relatively high. So I originally thought, yeah, maybe clearing this out early is going to give the best of chances, but maybe just waiting for another team to rotate in might make more sense, might give you the better chance of picking up more points. Heading over to Moldova. They are continuing their rotation this round way outside in towards the eastern waters, though, and I'm not so sure if that one's going to work out perfectly. But as of right now, as it stands, no one's really watching that eastern side too much. And I said that from the beginning. I think that's due to the fact that Ukraine was having so much space towards the ruined region.
Yeah, it was a really interesting distribution across the map. A lot of teams with more space than you would think, and then a few teams just bunched up so close together. Belarus picks up a 4th kill already. 2 different teams that they've hampered significantly here, but look at how empty this zone still is compared to who has to get in, right? We're going to see a lot of teams coming from that eastern side, just scrambling their way on in. As the teams went early, have lost a lot of players, but the teams on the right is, well, they're in a bit of a pickle. That's Turkey. That's a team that we've called favorites, a team with massive experience. They're struggling to hold on here. Ukraine is getting aggressive on this, Felix.
Yeah, they want to make it work. But Turkey, with that knock, has gotten wild back up, and they will be retreating into the single-story building just across the street. Still going to be really, really tough for them to get back out. So I think there's going to be a couple of smokes that are being needed as the nades are raining in. And it's only Silas that can really support them at this point.
It's a bit of an awkward fight. Hopefully, they're able to consolidate here. You can see they don't want to get utiled. They don't want to get caught off. They know that the roof angle is a possibility. Now Tuluk has been spotted as well. Turkey's just trying to get... I think they're just trying to get a player out of trouble here. They're trying to make sure they don't lose another one as they slow things right back down. And they try and avoid getting utiled, try to avoid getting caught on a cross. But they're going to leave Loxy here. They smoke him off, but they don't move him out. So interesting decision making so far.
All boys still on that wall. It's going to continue trying to find an angle on towards the Turkish player, but I think they've just now realized maybe, just maybe, it's not worth it. But the way their positions are the zone, they can literally just reposition into the next compound over and still be in the center of the circle. And they also know it's Turkey to the side, right? It's one of the strongest teams in the lobby. Fighting them might not be worth it just yet.
Nice little reposition, like you said. Easily done. Easily back to a chill compound. As we see the Romania players gotten themselves 2 kills very early on. Now they're running in the blue. This is the SANHOK experience. When you don't get circle, it can be quite hard. You're running in on the blue edge, and you're taking a whole lot of fights to try and get in there. I'll have to wait and see how that works out for them.
Next zone is going to shift deep towards the western side. And we can see Germany in big trouble as well. Just now rotating in. Zero hasn't even reached the new safe zone. And with this one, yeah, I can once again understand Ukraine's repositioning. Ukraine is going to reposition once more. Look, surprisingly to me, there's still there's actually, I want to say 3, maybe 4 spots in the middle of the circle completely open. That's more than I expected that to be, with 20 teams literally just a minute ago being alive in phase 2, phase 3. But yeah, obviously the nature of SANHOK, these long rotations, and we talked about this as well, are not going to be possible as much. So just grabbing a vehicle and rotating towards these positions, that's the big problem. So that's why there's still so much space. And also, with these hard shifts, it's going to mean teams are going to have to rotate in later and later and later, because the distances are going to be longer, especially if it's all towards the western side. So more skirmishes, and as soon as you get into one skirmish, rotation timing is kind of thrown out the window anyway. So I'm expecting more fights on these edges, and I think Montenegro is a good example of that.
It's scrappy, it's messy, it's dangerous. It's not a map that you can easily rotate on, and we've seen it time and time again that some teams are able to pull it off, but usually not very consistently. You can see right now. Romania just really struggling to get anything going there. They get themselves a little 2-seater Vespa, but that's not going to take in the whole team, and they're going to have a hard time making moves towards the circle, which is why you're so happy if you can manage to make an early move. And that's why we see so many teams risk it, right? Phase 1, crashing a compound in the middle, just to try and avoid all of this mess that we see on the edges here.
More shots being put out by Croatia. A pretty good spot to hold out almost anyone coming to the eastern side. I think that's what Croatia is going for. You can see their split. Unfortunately, I think Sikyo has been knocked, actually. Yeah, Sikyo has been knocked. He's not going to get picked back up. It's going to be a big bummer for Croatia. They would have another angle otherwise on holding out all these players. Right now, it's really only strategy. I think it's really only strategy. I think his teammate is really far in the distance. He's already found himself a spot in the new zone. So him holding 4 players on his own might not be the play to go for. And yeah, he realizes that himself. Fall back, trying to find yourself a good spot. Good thing is, though, new safe zone also has some good angles for new gatekeeping opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's the reason he's fallen back from this. Yes, he was alone. Yes, he was a bit of on an island, but he had a pretty solid spot for himself, I think. Is not when you look at the numbers, but when you look at the angles he had. But his teammate is also in a different fight across the map. So they're trying to regroup, they're trying to consolidate, and well, they're going to find out that somehow, Felix, a lot of the middle of this circle is free. Ukraine just moved over to the western side, which they took for free as well. And they left an entire compound unoccupied, while so many teams are just struggling on these edges. You see player after player falling. And then a lot of the middle space is just free, but no one knows about it. No one's ready to appreciate all that space they've been given, because the sightlines on SANHOK are so short and it's so hard to scout your way in.
Yeah. Nice rotation coming in for Armenia. To that southern side. I have 2 players already inside the zone, so that also means good opportunities now to get some more open space. So as the southern side cleared, I think that's what they did. They kind of held that position for so long to kind of keep everyone else out, to deny these positions to anyone else, to make sure no one's really rotating into your backlines, and then being able to play off of that clear edge. Obviously, playing off of their strength as well is going to be the game plan going forward. As we have more frags running in. France, they have been, especially looking at the scrim results, one of the favorite teams. Super experienced roster. They've had a couple of really big organizations as well here, and obviously with a couple of lineup changes here and there, but for the most part, some really big organizations as well. They've always played at the top of the European scene as well, so not to be underestimated. I think especially fragging is going to be one of their strengths.
Exactly what you need on SANHOK, isn't it? Ukraine versus Turkey, round 2. A bit of a scuffle in the compound, but again, still, you saw if you were careful with your eyes there, you saw that Ukraine still has players on multiple angles here, multiple sides of the road, multiple sides of the valley. They're both set up for whatever the circle will throw their way, and it feels like they're the only one team that's really chilling in this. It really feels like they're the only team in a really good spot here. Bulgaria, they want to push out of their compound, instantly shot in the back. France on top, so many targets to shoot at. Serbia, they have to go swimming here. Milas, not a good time for him either. So many teams just struggling for their lives, and then Ukraine just controlling an insane amount of space in the middle.
Yeah, Ukraine, as I said, I think that's... I would have expected them to have that much space, just solely based off of phase 1. The amount of space they had on that eastern side. And on the western side of that little island was absolutely nuts. I mean, they had every compound towards the eastern side of ruins and everything towards the western side of ruins. So that just goes to show you if they would have split this phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3, which is what they did. They tried to deny more position than just one. And then that complete center circle could have potentially been clear. And they, once again, repositioned incredibly fast. And that's what they're playing off of right now. That strength, that good early game, and also that experience knowing how you play these types of phases if you do get the zone.
Yeah, and there's a little detail here you might have missed, but the zone was about to pop. 2 of the Ukraine players already in their cars, already driving towards their teammates. Then the zone pops. Oh, we're both good. Okay, we can stay. But just that little bit of a pre-drive, that saving yourself those 10 seconds if you do have to leave, is absolutely massive sometimes, and is a strategy that you love to employ to sort of optimize the timings a little bit and make sure that you are more ready than everybody else in the lobby. And those are really the small things that's going to separate teams here today. We had a glimpse at France there. 7 eliminations for them, struggling a bit now. We had 6 here a second ago, and we have Montenegro. It's not looking super clean. That car is looking like it's about to blow up. Maybe he can make it to the shack. He's making it to the shack. Is he getting in? I'm not sure. This is not a good place to be in, Felix.
No, not really. Especially considering it's only the top 8 that really gets a placement point, and realistically, what can you really do with that position? I don't know, towards the western side once more. Bulgaria, and it is Icy. We've talked about him. We've said he was going to be the standout player, and he is right now. 3 frags, all on his own, as he's trying to make it down the hill desperately. He's been caught off guard by some of these Moldova players, as the rest of his team is down the warehouse, and he's trying to group up. You can tell he's desperately trying to group up. There's just so many angles, and I think even if he does, dodge that fight up the hill, he's going to be creating more players shooting at him from across the zone, and that's exactly what happens. Poland, with some good angles, will take down Icy.
So many third parties coming in. So few of these fights are clean and easy to take. Now Icy's got to crawl down. They've got to smoke his way. No more smokes left, though, on Notorious, so can't really keep him safe if he can't crawl into safety. The circle has once again shifted far, far away from Bulgaria. The Icy's been able to pick up those swimmers. I think that's the main items he got, but they'll have to make another move now. And with 2 teams in the circle occupying both the compounds and 9 teams having to move on in, this is going to be a bloodbath, Alex.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath indeed. Moldova cleaning up that northern edge now. Good shots raining on through, as they will pick up 7 frags already in phase 6. More players now in deep, deep trouble on that edge as the zone continues to center up with Ukraine and Turkey. The 2 teams that have repositioned really, really early on, still in prime spots to pick up more frags.
Shack might be getting breached in the middle. A few nades were already coming out. Now we see the Moldova guys looking to clear that car. Shelby, no meds left. Can he step up and take them both? He definitely has them dead to rights, but oh, he's letting them pass. He wants to play in behind them. I'm not sure how well that's going to work if the rest of the server starts shooting at them, but so far their run's been flawless, and so should be his. Oh, Shelby. Oh, no.
Not a chance in hell. He's ever going to get into that zone. There's too many angles. Too many players in the blue zone is going to take him down. Turkey now, just 1 player left standing. I thought they would have gotten more by now. He's trying to go for the 1v1. He loses it as well. Marlow there to take him down. That's a good 1v1. And a really important one from Moldova, actually. 8 frags now being picked up. And another placement point being secured for Moldova as well.
Yeah, that's not only the Elim as well that's staying alive into placements here when you might be losing more than one team, maybe two teams. We see Bulgaria here, no chance. Poland's getting in the mix as well. So many teams struggling for the single edge. And oh, I said Bloodbath earlier. I wasn't sure it was going to go down this badly. But look at this. Everyone is just falling and there's nobody staying alive. Poland down to just one.
Yeah. Just one player left standing for Poland now. He's going to have the opportunity to revive Neymar, but I think he realizes that with the zone moving, he's going to have to delay it, at least for the time being. More shots now coming in. Actually, what? He's still alive. Pusher somehow still alive. He gets taken out very low, though. And there goes the UMP. Wins the 1v1, and Ibiza makes sure Poland stays alive for at least one more team.
Yeah, they forgot that there was still a player there. I was also looking for where that last player was. They didn't quite know either. France now on the push versus Ukraine. This is a big decider for this game. We might just see whoever wins this fight win the game, but France is definitely not in the prime position here. The Blues on their back. They've already been taken down low. Now just two players standing, trying to make a move to the compound, but the hold is fierce, it's solid, and it's literally 1 HP left on the whole France team. Ukraine is dealing with this beautifully. And there's the last one. Fusman picks it up. Tulika will shortly get rezzed here. And Ukraine is looking so solid, Felix.
Yeah, looking really solid. 10 frags already. And Ukraine in prime position now to take home that first chicken dinner. Such an important round. It would mean a monstrous step towards qualification. Yes, we have a best of 12, but just solely based off of these points and how hard it is against 20 other teams to get these points, it would be absolutely amazing. So Ukraine, just nothing short of a wow. Nothing short of a wow will secure that round. They've done so convincingly, they've done so methodically, and incredibly disciplined as well.
Yeah, that was a statement. That was clean as heck. I think
Yeah.
we've talked all about favorites in these tournaments. I think that's the first time a favorite comes out swinging like that and just shows beautiful zone control. Sure, they got into phase one very nicely, but they had space for the entire map. They made a really good rotation in phase one. They took a lot of space. They get into a fight versus Turkey, right? One of the best teams in the lobby as well. They realize we can just pull out of this. We'll have tons of compounds to choose from. We don't have to take this fight, right? We don't. Yes, we're 4v3, but we can just take our compounds, control the map, take good splits, group at the right time. Just textbook play. Really strong stuff from them. And as a bit of a strategy nerd, I think that was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, really good repositioning, I think, especially phase 2 to phase 3 when that shift originally happened. And it went back towards the eastern side of the road. They immediately realized in that fight against Turkey they had going at the moment, and they had the advantage on it as well. They could have finished it and then rotated, but they realized the winning play here with so much third-party potential, with so many of the teams still alive, I think it was 20 at that point, maybe 19 even. Let's just rotate off. We've literally got the zone coming towards us anyways, and that's the big play they actually went for. So massive stuff coming out from Ukraine once more, and yeah, as you said, strategy-wise, perfectly played.
Yeah, clean stuff from them in a super messy SANHOK game, as we expected, right? They were the one team that was staying clean in it. I think France as well, we have to talk about them. Getting a huge bunch of eliminations on that northern side, but there's Turkey, and they've had a rough game. I think they got themselves some nice kills. I've won Elim there in a 9th place, so that's just 1 point. Losing players early really just hamstrung them and made them unable to play out the rest of the game. I think France picking up a huge bunch of points. I think we've seen Ukraine obviously just completely run away with it there. That should be 11 Elims and a win, I think. So that's a big statement when you're looking at 5 more games today. It's looking good for them right now, but it's only been one of the 5, on one of the 6. Yeah,
good stuff for France, also from Moldova. I want to highlight them as well because they had a pretty tough road in too, coming to the western side. I think they picked up 8 or 9 frags by the time they went down, so good on them as well. Lots of these top teams performing decently as we expected, even in a map like SANHOK, which we expected to be the most random to some degree out of them all, just based off of phase 1 and how few spots there are to loot. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go into a very quick break before we head on back for game number 2.